Hey, it's Vas here from Metro Hobbies, and today we're going to be looking at a couple of cute little cars. This is the Mini-B and Mini-T from Losi Racing. Alright, so when you get one of these, this is everything you get out of the box. Of course, you get the cars fully assembled and ready to go. You get the radio, there is a little USB charger for the included battery, and you get a little baggie with some AAA batteries, which are for the handheld radio. There's also a cross wrench in here, a spare body pin and body post, a little bind plug in case you need it, and a little Allen key. The manual is also pretty comprehensive. It is quite thick, but it's just because it's in multiple languages. It has the basic information that you need, including exploded views and so forth, part numbers, all of that sort of stuff is there for you guys to go through. And of course, as I said, there is also an included battery. The batteries actually come already mounted in the cars. Of course, they're not plugged in, so you'll need to charge these up before you can actually use the car. Now, before we get stuck into the cars, I just want to point out the radio very quickly because it is quite a unique radio. Now, the radio does come assembled as you see it, but you can pull it apart. There's a little clip back here, you pull on that and the whole handle comes off, and this is how you actually install your batteries. There's a little lid here that you pop open and your AAA batteries goes in there. So for those of you who don't know how this works, essentially that's how it is. So it clips back on quite simply like that, like so, and you're good to go. It has the usual buttons as you'd expect, on and off switch up the top here, steering trim, throttle trim, and you've got your reverse buttons up the top here as well. No collapsible antennas or anything like that to break off. Really good small radio, good for small hands as well, but quite comfortable for big mitts like mine. So the wheel actually feels really good. It's got a nice weighted trigger. There's really nothing to complain about too much on this radio other than the fact that it's probably not the most stable if you stand it up. You might want to constantly have it laying down when you're not using the cars, but that's really about it. All right, let's move on to the cars. Alright, so now for the cars themselves, and before we get into too much detail regarding these guys, just point out a couple of little differences between the two. Obviously you got different bodies and different wheels and tyres on these, although the rear wheels are exactly the same on both. They're same width and same diameters and everything. It's just the fronts, obviously for the buggy, they're a little bit narrower than the truggy. The A-arms and everything, as far as I could tell, are exactly the same, but one thing to note is that they are different lengths. So if we have a look, if I straighten out these wheels here quickly, if we have a look at the wheelbase, you can see there that the buggy is actually a little bit longer, and you'll see the difference there when we take the bodies off, and you'll see the layouts slightly different between the two. So the buggy, a very nice looking buggy, I might add. It has the little rear wing spoiler back here, plastic threaded body chocks, and suspension on both vehicles are extremely well tuned. Losi are renowned for doing very well suspension tunes, or very good suspension tunes on their vehicles. Losi is a brand that is synonymous in the racing scene and have won many championships over the years, so they definitely know what they're doing when it comes to tuning and setup of an RC. And you can definitely feel that when you compress these cars, the suspension definitely feels like somebody has been doing their homework. So very nicely done there by Losi. You've got adjustable turnbuckles front and rear, and adjustable camber links front and rear as well, which is something that you don't normally see in cars this size. These are quite small, but they're very, very well, there's a lot of adjustments here that you can make. And of course, you also have some adjustments on the front and rear shock towers, as well as the front and rear A-arms. When we take the body off on the buggy here, if I can just get it off, it only has one little body pin that you need to remove, and then the whole thing kind of slides out. The bodies themselves on both vehicles are actually quite thick and look to be very durable. So there's not flimsy bodies at all, and they're very nicely trimmed and cut and everything. So you'll see here the layout of the little buggy. We have the transmission in the back, which means that this is a mid-mounted setup. Traditionally with two-wheel drive buggies, you'll see the transmission and the motor mounted behind the shock tower. This one's actually done in front of the shock tower. And then we have a 650 milliamp 2S LiPo battery that's just held together with this like rubber strap that they've put on here. And then of course you've got your little connections there and everything. Up the front here we have the 2-in-1 receiver and ESC, which is connected to your radio, and then you have your little servo up the front there with a nice little servo saver. The chassis underneath, as you can see, is all aluminium, and the car itself actually has a little bit of heft to it, and that actually helps in the stability. Something this small, if it's super light, it's just going to bounce around everywhere. But the way that Losi have done this gives the cars a little bit of weight and just makes them really nice and stable when you're driving them. Now for the truggy, we'll take the body off, and again the body nice and firm, very nicely done body on that one, and you can see it's a very similar layout, but because of the shorter chassis, you'll notice that the ESC and receiver are actually on top of the battery, so the battery kind of slides in underneath that. But everything else is pretty much the same. You got your mid-mounted transmission with the 280 size motor there. You got your servo up the front, and then the only difference between this one and the buggy are also the shock towers, which have little body posts on here so that you can actually obviously mount the body on top of the shock towers. Again, the shocks, threaded body shocks, and very nicely tuned. The wheels and tires are just perfect. I really like the way that these are done. I believe that the A-arms and everything on these cars are exactly the same, so there's no like different part numbers between the two. They share a lot of parts, which is good. So whether you have one or the other, you have both, you can actually share spare parts, which is a really nice thing, which means that you don't have to buy, you know, a whole bunch of different parts for both cars. So that is pretty much these guys. They drive amazingly well if you have access to a nice little indoor track, or you have the ability to make a little one maybe in a spare space in your house, maybe a backyard or, you know, a garage or something like that. I'm pretty sure that if you grab a couple of these, you can definitely have a lot of fun. So that pretty much wraps up this video of the Losi Mini-T and Mini-B. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit that like button before you go. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below if you have any questions or queries regarding these cars. Don't forget to check out the video description as well. We'll have links in there to the vehicles as well as links to our socials. Thank you again for watching, and I'll be speaking to you all next time.